This is Alan with the Grilling Network. Welcome. Today on tap, brisket. We're going to be using our Traeger Grill, so let's go ahead and get cooking. For today's cook, we're using a brisket from Double R Ranch. This is a 15.5-pound brisket. We're going to be using our Chops Power Injector to inject the beef stock that I have inside. I tweaked it a little bit. I'll go ahead and place the ingredients below. The beauty of this Chops Power Injector is you get 4 needles when you're doing your injections. We're going to leave the cryovac on. This helps for cleanup. Makes it a lot simpler and you don't get any stray shooters. So we're going to go ahead and place needles gently inside the brisket. Go ahead and depress the button. You want to do this every square inch or so, just to make sure that you don't poke through the other side, obviously. We're going to go ahead and let this marinate about 4 hours in the fridge. We'll go ahead and fire up the Traeger, and then we'll go ahead and season the brisket. We've removed the cryovac from the briskets, so it's time to go ahead and start trimming. I'll go ahead and link a video below on how I trim the briskets. It's been proven on the barbecue circuit that leaving all the fat on does not aid because it doesn't render all. So we're gonna go ahead and start that now. Just gonna use a knife and just make sure that you're careful with trimming it. I wanna make sure that my barbecue rub that we're gonna use next touches as much meat as possible, and we'll go ahead and do this trimming off camera, and we'll get to the next step, which is seasoning the brisket. I went ahead and removed the flat from the point. As you see here, there's still quite a bit of fat left. I'm going to still continue to trim off this fat. This will not render, or at least all of it won't, before I start applying my rub. I just wanted to show that to you guys. We'll go ahead and finish this off camera and we'll get to the next step, which is applying our dry rub. One trick that I like to use is, if you notice here, the grain of the brisket is going this way. So you want to make sure you cut against the grain when slicing up after it's cooked. But the only way to do that is to trim off a corner before we cook it, because the meat will shrink up. So I just tend to nick the corner, just like that. And that way I know that to cut my meat this way. Now that we've finished trimming our brisket, now it's time to go ahead and apply a dry rub. My rub of choice is Holy Cow from MeatChurch. This is one phenomenal rub. Make sure you guys go ahead and check him out. He's one phenomenal guy and he makes several different rubs. We'll go ahead and liberally apply it all over our brisket. You want to make sure that you hit all the nooks and crannies of your brisket so that every bite that you get from your brisket when you're serving it, that they have the taste of this phenomenal rub. And this is why we trimmed it, so that way all that fat is removed and that way the rub hits all the morsels of meat. We'll go ahead and finish this off camera, fire up our Traeger, and we'll do that next. We have our Traeger preheated to 275 degrees Fahrenheit. We're using pecan pellets for this cook. I'm gonna go ahead and grab my brisket. Look at this gorgeous brisket here. I placed the fat cap side down first. We're gonna go ahead and cook this for about 6 hours total cooking time. Every half hour or so, I'm gonna go ahead and spray it with a Beef Au Jus, and that will aid in keeping the meat moist. Let's go ahead and close this up. And when you see you in about a half an hour. We've been cooking for a little over a half an hour now. It's time to go ahead and give it its first spritz with Beef Au Jus. I'll go ahead and include the recipe below. Looking phenomenal. It's starting to tighten up. As I mentioned, you want to do this every half hour. It's been about 2.5 hours now. One little gem that I like doing is adding a bead of parquet halfway through my cook. This definitely takes it to another level. I want to make sure you guys go ahead and give this a try. You won't be disappointed. There we go, a nice heavy bead. We'll go ahead and check back in about 45 minutes. We'll start spritzing with the Beef Au Jus again and until about 4 hours, and then at that point we'll go ahead and foil it. Now that we've finished spritzing it with Beef Au Jus, we're going to go ahead and let this go for another 15 minutes. It's been roughly 4 hours. The next step is foiling. You don't have to foil, but it just aids in the process of speeding up the cooking of your brisket. So we're going to go ahead and do that off camera, foil it, and we'll check back and I'll show you how to tell when it's done. We've been cooking right at 2 hours, so let's go ahead and check for doneness. I'm using my thermal pin. I'm not using the temperature probe per se. I'm basing it off of feel. So when the probe goes in like butter, then it's done. So let's go ahead and try that now. So you want to make sure that you check. See, that just goes in like butter. Goes in like butter. You just want to make sure you check several spots. This bad boy is done. We're going to go ahead and place them on the cutting board, let it vent for about a half an hour so that it cools down so we can cut it. As you see here, we have the brisket sitting on our cutting board. I went ahead and took a pair of scissors and cut the aluminum foil open. That way it vents. This allows the steam and all, the heat to escape. We're going to let it rest for another 20 minutes. Look at this beautiful brisket. This looks and smells phenomenal, guys. Let's go ahead and separate the point from the flat. Shouldn't be that hard. There we go. I don't know, as I did before, I trimmed the corner of this so that way I know which way the grain went. So we're going to cut against the grain. I'm going to separate this. Look at that. Okay, let's go ahead and carve into it. You can definitely still see the smoke ring. This is tender as all get out. All right, let's go ahead and give this a try. You can see right here, it's still got a little bit of resistance. Still, oh, that just falls apart. Let's give it a try. That is phenomenal. The notes of the smoky pecan, you can still taste a little bit of it. That's not too overpowering. That's what I like about my Traeger. It doesn't overpower your cooks. The rub is fantastic. It adds another level of what you'd expect in a good barbecue. I want to thank Matt from MeatChurch for providing that rub to me. Double R Ranch for providing the brisket, and Chops Power Injector for that awesome injector. So if you guys have any questions or comments, please leave them below. Make sure you like my video, thumbs up, and we'll see you in the next one.